So when I was talking about giving too much, one of the things that I learned is it doesn't have to be that way, right? There is a different way to make it happen. And what is that? So today we're going to talk about the different way and why it's still important to be the giver. Why does BNI say givers gain? And we're going to talk about that. And those two words are so perfect in this book because one of the cool things that I love is research. So in this book, he actually has done research to demonstrate the differences between being the giver, the matcher, and the taker. So what you'd like to have instead is you would really like to be at the top of your game, right? Everybody in town knows who you are. People want to connect with you. They're excited to get to know you because they know that you are doing a great job, your business is thriving. That's kind of the ideal place that we'd all like to be, right? I mean, that's why we're here. And so every evening when you get home, you know that you've made a difference and you've done something, whether it's helping someone with a handicapped access in their home, whether it's helping a veteran, whatever it is, you know that at the end of the day, you've been able to make a difference. And if you are falling into one of these other categories, if you've fallen into the same trap that I did, where you've given so much and you give and give and give and you're still struggling and you don't understand why, it's really not your fault because everything that we learn, we're kind of taught that way. So we kind of have to learn a different way to do that. And so these beliefs that we have in our head about, like what I was told in corporate, well, you've got to look out for number one. You'll never get ahead if you're always giving too much. Those are all beliefs that impact us every day, but we can do it differently. So I'm going to talk today about how to be a giver and how to love it. Again, maybe, like if it was me, I love it now and I get it. And also, how does giving actually make you money? So here's a little, when I talked about the taker, the matcher, and the giver, these are three personality types that he talks about in the book, Give and Take. So the taker is someone who's really out there just to get as much as possible from other people. The matcher I described already a little bit. If I do that for you, you're going to do something for me. Now the givers, they actually contribute to something without expecting anything in return. It's like if you give a referral here, you're not expecting that if I gave Keith a referral, Keith's going to give me a referral right back. That's a matcher mentality. So the giver mentality says I'm going to give Keith the referral, knowing that I'm contributing to helping somebody, helping him, and somebody that he's helping is actually going to get helped as well. So in the book, I promised you research. It was really cool to see that givers, for example, in medical school, the people who were the givers in medical school, they actually had higher grades. They were at the top of their classes. And these were people who just gave and gave and gave without expecting anything in return. Also, salespeople, so this is probably relevant, listen up if you do anything in sales, which if you're a business owner, you are a salesperson. You have 50% greater annual revenue for being the giver personality than even being a matcher. The people who are the matchers, income-wise and success-wise, they're in the middle. People who are the givers, they're at the top of the ladder. People who are the takers, they sort of seem like they're at the top of the ladder for a little while. Anybody ever hear of Kenneth Lay? Anybody in finances will remember this name, right? What's he known for, Keith?
It was Enron.
Yes. So he was Enron. So we know two things about him, right? You might not remember his name, but you remember Enron. You remember what he did? Not so good, right? And you remember what happened to him, right? He had a pretty big penalty that came eventually. And he was initially seen as a giver. What he did, though, is he gave in a way that was actually being a taker. So he was a taker in like sheep's clothing, right? So he looked like a giver, but he really wasn't. So the price of being a taker, my point with this slide is the price of being a taker can be really hefty. So famous givers, Abraham Lincoln is considered to be one of the famous, he talks about, he goes into a whole story. He doesn't even tell you who it is, right? He uses a fake name, talks about this politician over and over and over and over again. he would give to other people, to other politicians. He tried and tried. I mean, we know how many times he attempted to get elected and all of that work that he did. In the end, however, he was what's called an effective giver because he also knew how to ask. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go through the talk too. So obviously we know him because he's famous. So Zig Ziglar talks about that if you really want, I've got the quote here, but if you really want to be successful, if you help enough other people get what they want, you will eventually get what you want too. And if you haven't heard of Zig Ziglar, he's like one of the most famous success speakers, motivational speakers, kind of success gurus of all time. And he talks about you give everyone else what they want and you will get what you want too. Have you ever heard of the platinum rule? And we know the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So the platinum rule, that's kind of been a buzzword. So the platinum rule is actually, if I know that Luke has a certain something that he wants, my goal is going to be to give him what he wants, not what I want. That would be, I mean, if I might want something totally different. He might have a different personality. So if I give him a gift, why would I give him a gift that I want? I would give him a gift that he wants. So that's kind of the platinum rule. So why bother even giving somebody something that they don't want? So I'm going to talk a lot. You'll see my slides titled How to Give Effectively, because we can give, like I talked about in my own example, we can give till I'm blue in the face. It doesn't necessarily become effective, though, until I follow a couple of rules. So that I'm going to go backwards, right? The third rule of giving, I'm starting at number 3 and we'll work our way up to 1. The third rule of giving is to actually just give. I mean, that's the most important thing, right? And that's kind of the third rule. However, in order to give effectively, what are some things you have to do? Those of you who are BNI members, you know this, right?
Listen.
Like I planted him, he said it. He said, listen, right? So in order to know what you want to give, you've got to listen to somebody. So a couple of quotes about listening is, there's an ancient quote, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. So that's really important, right? Listen. Another one I saw recently, which is actually a pianist, I wondered where it came from, is the word listen actually has the same letters in it as the word silent. You stop and think about that, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Kind of like whoever came up with that word actually thought about that. So in order to listen effectively, what are some things we have to do? Zip it up, right? What's the other thing? This is something that I still work on myself, so maybe some of you might resonate with this. When I'm listening to someone, like I know what I want to say, right? So the whole time they're talking, I'm like, I've got in my head, oh, I got to remember to say, I got to remember to think this, and I want to make sure they know this. So when I'm thinking that, am I really listening very well? Not really. I mean, I look like I'm listening, right, because I'm not talking. But we're going to talk a little bit about what some people call active listening. So in order to be an active listener, to really know what it is that you need, I need to not only zip it up, I also have to turn off my mind and actually focus and pay attention to what you're talking about. So we're going to do a little bit of an exercise here. So I want you to pair up with someone, and if you're here with someone that you know pretty well, kind of pick someone else, but we're a little short on time, so make it quick. So pick one person and stand up and find a place to chat with someone.
Okay.
Stand up at 1.
Sit or whatever.
So, home improvements?
Yes.
I wanted to talk to you because
Thank you. Now I got to give you the instructions, now that you're together. So the first thing, what I want you to do is I want one of you is going to answer some of these questions. So like pretend that your partner is asking you, how can I help you achieve something? What's like the thing you need the most right now to get to the next level? So the one of you with the shortest hair is going to be the one talking, and the one with the longest hair is going to be listening, right? So practice this. We talked about what it means to listen. And so I want you to actually practice this. And I'm going to give you just 1 minute, and I'm going to have one of these lovely whistlers whistle again. So go. What do you need to get to the next level?